Hello world, Dire Straits here. Here to talk about the Craftsman V-series wrenches, because lately I've seen a lot of discussion about these. I've seen a lot of discussion comparing them to the Mac Precision Torques. I've been hearing people say that they're the same thing. It's just not true. And people are also saying the same thing as Facom, and that's also not true. And kind of just want to break down the differences as far as I know them, definitely between these two styles, and let you guys know what is true and what is not. So first up, we have the Craftsman V-series here in SAE, because that's what I own in the Craftsman. And then in the metric, I have the Mac Tools. Let's say Mac Tools Precision Torque wrenches. So, as always, I'm going to disclose that, these are bought with my own personal money. No sponsorships or anything like that. Obviously, I'm a small YouTuber, but, you know, I'll always disclose if I got anything for free. So, the Craftsman V-series wrenches are not the same. Like, to put it, like, you want the short and sweet of it, they're not the same. But look, let's talk about the similarities. So they both come in these holders. You know, each holder is specifically designed for the set that they come in. Keep that in mind. So when you buy a Craftsman V-series, the metric holder is going to look a little different than the standard, because, you know, obviously with the labeling and the spacing and the sizing and everything is bespoke to that unit of measurement, right? So the SAE and metric, I'm pretty sure if you get the metric set, it's going to look very similar to this holder. But also, I will say that I think the holders are bespoke to the wrenches themselves as well. I don't think you can just, I might be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. Maybe I don't know. I might be wrong about that. Correct me in the bottom if I am. But I think like these are a little longer to accommodate the longer length, etc., etc. And I also tell you, these holders really only work with these wrenches. You can't just put any wrench in them. That doesn't work. I've tried and tested it. It doesn't seem to work with other wrenches. Just these ones. If you don't know, Craftsman and Mac Tools are both owned by Stanley Black & Decker. So is Facom, and so is USOG, which is an Italian tool brand. As far as I know, it was Facom that first came out with these, and they came in the holder, and they were really good. And the Facoms are the same thing as the Craftsman V-series, as far as I know. But Facom does have many iterations and different versions. But the base version, don't know the part number offhand. If I have time, I'll put it somewhere in the video. But yeah, these are essentially similar to the Facoms. But I don't think Facom ever sold SAE sets, so that is the nice thing about the Craftsman V-series, is you can get the SAE set, where the Facom was not possible. You can only get a metric. And I will say that the Craftsman V-series often are on sale, and maybe even regular price, are cheaper than the Facom version. So if you want these wrenches, kind of a no-brainer just to go with the Craftsman V-series in America, because the Facom ones, they just carry a higher price tag, and they're the same exact wrench. So yeah, these go on sale quite a bit, making them a really good value. The Mac Precision Torques obviously retail a lot higher than the Craftsman V-series, but we'll get into why that is later in the video. So here we go. All right, so what's the main differences? So obviously you have the holder, and just a brief point on this holder, guys. The holder is amazing. I love the holder. I really do. It just fits in your toolbox so nice. I like how it keeps everything arranged in the toolbox, but also, and I'm a big fan of doing this, I'll just grab a whole wrench set, because sometimes I don't know what size I need, and rather than, you know, fidget going back and forth like, oh, is it an 11, is it a 12, you know, and just messing with it, I can take the whole set with me. If I get the size wrong, well, I got the set with me, I can just grab the size up or down and, you know, get the right tool rather than walking back and forth between the box. So I really like this design a lot, because how I work, it's like perfect for me. I like having the compactness. I like having it arranged in my box. I can see all the sizes and just pull one when I need one, but also the grab and go nature of it is perfect. I do that a lot with wrenches. So yeah, this holder design is amazing. I think it's the best wrench holder design on the market. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. That's my opinion. Some people are going to disagree, and that's okay. Disagree, let me know down below how you feel. I'd love to hear from you. So, moving on, similar holders, right? I do think they're made slightly different depending on the wrench series that they're holding. That being said, I mean, these will fit in here, of course, but most other wrenches will not. Just give an example. We got like a gear wrench here. It might fit, but if you start, it fit, like the individual one fits, but I'm telling you, if you start stacking them, trying to get them all in here, then you run into problems. Typically, they just don't work. So don't buy the holder in the hopes of, I mean, you can buy it, but you know, chances are the holder is not going to work for your wrenches. Let's get into the nitty gritty, right? So a lot of people are saying that these V-series are the same thing as the Mac Tools Precision Torque wrenches, which is just absolutely not true. So here I have a 3/8 Craftsman V-series wrench. Here I have a Mac Tools Precision Torque wrench, 10 millimeter. Keep in mind, I don't have the SAE version. 3/8, 10 millimeter are basically the same. And I'm telling you right now, if you were to have a Mac Tools 3/8 or a Craftsman 10 millimeter, they would be these sizes. Don't believe me? That's fine. If you think I'm wrong, I hope you got some proof. Post it down below. That sounds arrogant. I didn't mean it like that, but yeah, I'm fairly confident these are the same sizes, guys. And they're equal unit of measure. So equal but different unit of measure, right? So right off the bat, you can tell, yeah, these are very much different. These are much shorter than the Mac Precision Torques. They do have the same box angle, which is fantastic. I love that box angle, guys. It really, really is super nice. Now, the Craftsman, as you see, has an inlay or cutout, if you will, that spans kind of the whole wrench. And the Craftsman kind of has this ellipsy effect, right? Submarine shape going on with it, where it bows out at the top and bottom in the middle. And the Mac Tools, it kind of does that, but barely. Like, not nearly as pronounced as on the Craftsman. Not a big deal. Beam size, I definitely notice that the Craftsmans are a little thinner. Maybe not. You know, that might just be how they appear. I actually think they're pretty much identical. I'm not going to measure them because they're so close that I think it's a non-issue. I think it's just the length from the Macs that give that feel that they're thicker. They are a good feeling beam. No complaints about that. I like the thickness of them. I personally think the Mac inlays are better. I think again, this probably has to do with the length of the wrench itself, but they just feel more comfortable. What are these inlays for, you might ask? Well, they are a little place to put your thumb. It's a little shelf for your thumb. When you think about how you use a wrench, like this or like that, you know, it's just a little feature that makes it a little more comfortable to use. I really like these inlays on wrenches. They're very nice. Now, let's look at the head design difference. Okay, if we can get some focus. Come on, camera. There we go. So the Mac Precision Torques does have an anti-slip design. I hope you guys see that there. The Craftsman V-series does not have any anti-slip feature at all. Also, you can see that the Mac Precision Tools has the Precision Torques, sorry, has the hexagonal cutout shape, which, you know, in theory does nothing, but it does look cool. Can't deny it looks cool. So obviously, this isn't the same exact tool and die set used to make these. This is a very different head shape compared to your V-series, okay? The box end is actually the same. I see no obvious differences, you know, beveling and the angle and everything looks to be about the same, guys. So yeah, no difference there. One thing to note about the Craftsman V-series and the Mac tools, they have a very different box angle than your traditional wrench. Let's grab the channel lock, or aka the icons that everyone loves so much. And as you can see, here's the difference. This has, because of where the beam connects at the top of the box rather than the middle. See, traditionally these are made flat and then bent in the factory. And that's why you get that funny shape. It gets bent. And these, I'm pretty sure, are just forged exactly like this. And they have a special tool that can obviously come in at an angle to cut the 12 point out. That's pretty cool. What's the advantage though? The advantage is that when you have this flush up against something, you have more clearance down here. So there could be a lip or something in the way that this will clear, that this wrench would not. It would hit and interfere with. So there is an advantage to this box end. I don't see any negatives that this angle or this attachment point does to the wrench. I just see it as a win all around. I really like the box ends. If you can think of a reason that this would not be advantageous, I mean, the angles are roughly the same when you really square out the angle. The angle is actually steeper on this channel lock if they sit flush, but not much. Slight difference in angle. It's probably really hard for you guys to even see that on camera. But you know, you're talking about a couple of degrees difference. I don't think it'll be a big deal. But yeah. So similarities with the Craftsman. Again, you got the holder, you got the same box end, completely different head, no anti-slip on these. These are obviously long pattern, and the Craftsman are very weird length to me, super weird. And these are the same with the Faucombs. It's a very oddball length. And here's why. The Mac Precision Torques are what I would consider a long pattern, and I think most people will agree. And then here we have the channel lock, basically, you know, icon wrenches made by Infar. They are also what I would consider a long pattern, 10 mil wrench here. It's a little bit shorter than the Mac Precision Torques. And then we have the gear wrench, which is also a long pattern wrench, and it has its own anti-slip design, guys, but it's not as good, not as well executed as the Mac tools. Let me see if I can get this in focus for you. No? Well, camera, I hate you. Come on. Zoom out, zoom in. Wow, this is frustrating. Okay. All right, well, forget that. I'm not dealing with that. That's super annoying. All right, trust me, the gear wrench has some kind of anti-slip design. So here we have SK made in China wrenches, 3/8. These are what I would consider a regular length wrench. And as you can see, they do come up shorter compared to the gear wrench, channel lock, and Mac tools. The Mac tools is still the longest of these, but this is like a normal regular length wrench. Nothing long with this size at all. And just to double down on my point, I have a ratcheting wrench here. This is by Capri, and I know it's a ratcheting wrench, but it is also a regular length wrench. And as you can see, it's basically the same size as this SK one. Here we have the Craftsman V-series. It's short. It's really short. It's like, man, that's like an inch shorter than the regular length wrenches. And then, just to illustrate the point, I have a stubby wrench here by Icon, and that's even shorter. It's bizarre how short these are compared to, you know, like what I consider traditional regular size, and especially the long patterns. Just a weird length. I don't like that at all, if I'm being honest. So let's get into the major drawbacks of these wrenches. When you get them on sale, I do think that they're still an excellent buy, but you know, here's the major differences. Here's why you're paying a lot more money for the Mac tools. Part of that is, of course, your tool truck fees, right? Like, just tool truck prices in general are insane. That being said, you can get these for a pretty decent deal. You know, I think I paid for mine, I don't remember what I paid. I want to say it was like $220 or $240 or something around that ballpark, which is pricey for a wrench, but not insane. I am disappointed that they're Mac tools, but they're made in Taiwan. That part does sting a little bit, but I cannot deny that this is a really nice made wrench. Really like the wrenches a lot. So let's talk about the differences here. So obviously we have an anti-slip design, and I really like Mac's incorporation of anti-slip here because it's very non-aggressive. There's no teeth on it at all. It's basically just some kind of like bulges and ramps, if you will, on the head of the wrench, which means it's non-marring. It will give you some additional grip, some additional friction, but it's not really marring. I will say, obviously, when these slip a lot, they do have a chance to round a fastener off, as any wrench would. But the open end gives you a little more purchase on a fastener without slipping, without completely damaging fasteners as well. That's kind of like the major negative to these, you know, what I'm just going to call them Icon because that's all everyone knows them as, the Icon wrenches. The gear wrench, similar to the Mac tools, has such a mild anti-slip design that they are not going to round fasteners off. They're pretty good. They're not as nice as the Mac tools, but I would say they're a pretty good alternative to the Mac tools if you're looking for a cheaper version. The Craftsman V-series don't have any anti-slip at all, which is actually fine. I'm really not opposed to that at all. I actually think that smooth jaw wrenches are better in most scenarios, unless it is a very mild anti-slip design like the Mac tools. The smooth jaw is preferred. I'd rather use smooth jaws for most of my work than these, because these will round the shit out of fasteners all the time. I mean, unintentionally, like you'll just be wrenching and it'll just, you know, mar up a fastener all like very frequently. So it's better to have smooth jaws for most of your work, and then if you really need that extra bite for some oddball reason, do that. But I think, you know, most of the time you're just going to switch to your box end anyways for increased breakaway, right? So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the anti-slips depending on how they're designed. I really like how Mac did theirs on the precision torque wrenches. So the beam comfort, I think, on the Mac tools is a lot more comfortable. I think a big source of that is just the length of the beam. As far as like how radiused this corner is on the Craftsman's, I think they're identical in that regard. I think the biggest difference is the length and obviously the inlay cut. And like I talked about earlier, the bowing of the beam here in the middle versus the Mac is more straight. This is more like just a straight beam. The Mac is more comfortable for sure. They do also, something that's unique about this wrench I should also highlight is the angle of the head. Different than your traditional wrenches. Here, I'm going to try to line them up so you can see compared to these. You can see how this head, if I try to get them straight, as straight on as I can, the head on the Mac Precision Torques, it's a little more angled. Yeah, it's not crazy, but it's a little more angled. So what that means, the angle is like a little more like this versus being straight on. And it's not bad, actually. I will say this, on the Macs, I don't mind it. And it's the same thing with the V-series. They have that same angle. I think because it's not that drastically different from a traditional wrench, I don't mind it. But the Milwaukee does them too. But I feel like Milwaukee's angle is a lot more aggressive. And I did not like the Milwaukee's for that reason. But these, I think they just did a subtle change in angle, subtle enough that it doesn't bother me. I don't really think there's a plus or con to that, guys. Anyways, I don't think it's much of a difference. So kind of mute point, but they both have them. Yeah, the beams are definitely better on the Mac tools. Anti-slip head is better. The box ends are identical. So yeah, that's a great feature about this Craftsman V-series. Can't complain about that. Yeah. So overall, I mean, if you really don't care about anti-slip, Craftsmans are good. I don't think that's the biggest flaw with the Craftsman. I would say the length of the beam is the biggest problem with it. It's just too short, guys. And it is the same problem with the metrics. I don't have them here, but it is the same problem. You know, so it's odd, right? But that's kind of my conclusion. I just want to highlight that because people are saying they're exactly the same. They're not. And when you hold these in hand and use them, I mean, the Macs, they have the extra features that really just make them stand out apart from these wrenches. These wrenches were already good. Don't get me wrong. They were already good. I think their biggest flaw was the length, but the holder was fantastic. The shape of the head, the angle of the box, all these things are great about them. And then the Mac tools just kind of upped it to 11, right? And with this, long pattern, with the anti-slip, it just makes this wrench so much better. These, I would have no problem being a daily driver wrench. I think with the Craftsman's, I would have an issue with them because of the length. It's just not enough. You just can't get enough leverage with these. And then the length plays a pivotal role in comfort as well. I don't mind regular pattern wrenches at all like these. These are fine. They're perfectly workable because their length is works quite well, but these are just almost so small, they just don't feel right in the hands. And like I said, they're so close to a stubby. It's kind of crazy. Like, if I compare, I mean, granted, they are not stubby size. They're kind of like an in-between. It's like a weird, not quite regular pattern, not quite stubby length. Bizarre. I've never seen it before. Yeah, obviously the stubby's like 3 inches shorter, but it's a comfort thing, man. Doesn't feel as good. So that's my conclusion, guys. I hope this video helped you out. Hope you found this information useful. Please comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And on that note, I'm out. Bye.